Okay, there we go. So welcome to Intro to Edpuzzle. Why do I love Edpuzzle? Well, I love Edpuzzle because it's one of those tools that I promise you're going to be up and running in under 30 minutes. It's easy peasy, and video is a great way to engage our students. In fact, we've been using video forever. We've been using it for a really super duper long time. And the thing about video is that it's engaging. A picture's worth 1,000 words. So let me just share something here. To share with you. Okay, so the idea that video is engaging. Listen, I remember back in the day when the teacher would start rolling out the TV, the big giant TV strapped to the cart with the VCR. I knew we were going to have a great day. And that was the 80s, and I liked video then. Now, the ironic thing is this is how we're still doing video today. We're still showing it one video, even though the technology exists, we're still showing one video to a large group of students. And the problem with that is that right now we're in the midst of an educational renaissance. We need to recognize that as such. I know we're cursing COVID, but at the same time, we need to recognize that this is a chance. All of these years we've been talking about, I wish we could change. Here's what's wrong with education. We have a chance to change it. The tools exist. It's as simple as taking old things like videos and redoing them and putting them in and doing them in a new way. So here's the best part about being part of an educational renaissance and still showing video. First of all, video is always engaging. Video is especially engaging to this generation. Think about the popularity of YouTube. But here's the problem when we show one video to an entire classroom of students. How do we know that every single one of your students comprehended the video? I know that sometimes when, again, going back to the 80s, when the teacher rolled out the TV on the VCR cart, I would sometimes take that as a cue to do a little snoozing and drool on my desk. So there was that. So I figured, oh, there was a worksheet. I'll get the answers later from my girlfriends. So again, how do you know that you're reaching everyone? How do you know that can you differentiate a single video that you're showing to everybody else? What about your special needs kiddos? What about your, English language learners? How do you know that they're reaching them? And at the end of the day, how do you really know if you're showing one video to an entire classroom of students? How do you really know that they learned something? And that's the whole idea, is taking something old in our educational renaissance and making it brand new again. And that's where Edpuzzle comes in. And that's why I love, love, love Edpuzzle. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk briefly about Edpuzzle and just the introduction to it and how to get started being able to use it tomorrow. As always, I have created a Wakelet board, and I'm going to go ahead and drop that link in the chat for you so that everyone can have it. Here is the link. All right. You can follow along, but I thought we would just go ahead and get started. What is Edpuzzle? Again, it's a way for us to individualize video for each kid. So it's take one video and customize it a whole bunch of different ways. But let's take a look at a quick, we're going to take a look at a quick video to explain it. Speaking of video and a picture being worth 1,000 words.
Want to create amazing video lessons in minutes? Edpuzzle is your missing piece. With Edpuzzle, you can choose from the millions of videos available from YouTube, National Geographic, TED Talks, Khan Academy, and more. You can also reuse ready-to-go video lessons made by other teachers or upload your very own teaching video. Then use Edpuzzle's video editor to create your perfect lesson. Embed your own questions to check your students' understanding, cut sections to show your students only the most important parts of the video, and even record voiceover so you can explain concepts in your own words. Once you've finished, you can assign it to your students in just one click, and prevent skipping to make sure your students don't miss a thing. When you want to check in on your students' progress, use Edpuzzle's hassle-free analytics to get all the information you need. See who still needs to watch the video, what your students responded, and their total scores. So remember, with Edpuzzle's free platform, you can make any video your lesson.
All right, and that's a great tagline, to make any video your lesson. Because again, there's so many videos out there. You go on YouTube and you think, oh, this would be great to show to my students. So again, you might add it to your website and have them do it, but how do you know that they didn't skip through it? How do you know that they didn't crowdsource their answers to, if you've created a worksheet for them, an assessment, they could have crowdsourced it. So the best part about Edpuzzle is not only allows you to make any video your lesson, you can individualize it for students, you can personalize it, you can differentiate it, and then you also are going to get the clear data and analytics to make sure that you've reached every student, and if not, how you can go about doing that. So let's go ahead and get started with how this works. Right. So the first thing you do is you go to edpuzzle.com. Now, if you are new to Edpuzzle, you're going to go here and get started, and you're going to sign up for a teacher account. I already have an account, so I'm going to go ahead and log in. And as you can see, it asks me, ready, do you have are you a teacher or a student? Obviously, I'm a teacher. I'm going to go ahead and type in my username, or you can also go ahead and sign in with Google if you want. Okay. Now, when I'm all signed in, and I am immediately taken to my dashboard. So this is the dashboard where, as you can see, this is what's highlighted both here on the sidebar and up here on the top. This is my content page. This is the content that I have already created in Edpuzzle. Let me go home. So home on the dashboard is basically the home page for all of Edpuzzle. They're going to show you what's trending, not only just across the whole platform, but what's trending in your state, what's trending in the United States, and of course you can see more, all types of things that are basically trending, great videos that you could use. So that's from the home page. Curriculum is what Edpuzzle has curated for you. So you can even start, again, the beauty of the internet, if you don't have a video to use, or if you don't have one of yours that you've already uploaded, you can go ahead and just start perusing. I was a high school teacher, high school English teacher, so you can see I've got it by subject. First I went by grade level, then I've got subject. I can sort it by date, by name, by duration. When I click in, like I said, ELA, because I was a high school English teacher, it's then also, it's categorized by, as you can see, the Common Core standards. I'll go into poetry. Let's go to Langston Hughes. And you can see here that there are 4 curated Langston Hughes poetry videos for English language learners at the high school, or English language arts at the high school level. These numbers here indicate that how many notes or questions there are per video. And this is how long the videos are. So that's just in the curriculum side of things. So as you can see, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's all kinds of great stuff out there. This is where on the side, so we're getting smaller. We went from like the big giant home Edpuzzle page to the curriculum. Now we're going to be very specific to your organization. You're going to see here basically your school, and you'll see other videos that teachers in your school have created. And then you can also borrow, which is a great way to create common assessments for students. And then finally, like I said, we get very small and we get here to the content that you yourself have created. Now, where do you find great content? I've created content here, but where did I find it? Of course, I could have found it under curriculum, or I could have found it by the things made by my colleagues. But then if you look here on the sidebar, Edpuzzle also has channels. So they've got their own Edpuzzle channel, which are videos that teachers have borrowed and added and edited and customized. They're all here. Now it's kind of a hot mess right now because it's just one big, you haven't used any of the filtering tools. So let's say I wanted to look for something that's already been created about mitosis. So I've got some options here. And of course, I can also filter by subject. Also, we've got curated, approved YouTube videos. Let me get rid of the subject here. But YouTube is a partner with Edpuzzle. And so you can see here that all of, you don't have to go outside of Edpuzzle to find videos on YouTube if you have an idea and you want to look for something here. So let's look for the 19th Amendment. You'll get all kinds of videos here as well that are from YouTube. Also, Khan Academy. Great stuff here from Khan Academy as well. So let's do, right. Oh, we also have National Geographic where you can look for things. All kinds of great so they're also a partner of Edpuzzle. There's also TED Talks, which, as we know, TED Talks are incredibly great to motivate students and show them things. Channels, number file, crash course. And so these are all of the partners that work with Edpuzzle. So as you can see, you are never going to be at a loss for content. All right, and that is just first and foremost how to go about finding a video. Any questions so far? If you have a question, go ahead and unmute your mic. Okay, so let's look for a particular video. Or I've shown you how to look for a video. Now let's talk about how to edit a video. All right, let's say I want to go back to that. Let's go back to just mitosis. Or actually, you know what? I was a high school English teacher. One of the banes of my existence were comma splices. And here's sort of the best part about living in an educational renaissance. Back in the day, back in the late 90s, when I had my own high school classroom, I had 9th and 10th graders who were constantly having comma splice errors in their writing. And I had to take away valuable classroom instructional time to teach comma splices to the whole class because I didn't have the technology at the time. And I was taking away, and it would irk me because I was taking away such valuable instructional time away from my students to teach them about comma splices. If I were in the classroom today, here's what I would do. I'd find some videos about comma splices, pull them out, pull those kiddos out and make them like individual practice for those students who needed it. So that way I was meeting the needs of certain learners, wasn't sort of doing a whole spray and pray that everybody got it, and I was customizing it for my students. Okay, so here we go. Here is a comma splice video, and as you can see, it already has a whole bunch of questions in it. And I can go ahead and take a look at any of these.
Here's an
questions.
Example. Miss Rev is the First Lady of Aggieland. She is a beautiful dog. Both Miss Rev is the First Lady of Aggieland and
I can go ahead and fast forward.
On their own as sentences.
Okay. And so as you can see, now, as a teacher right now, I'm editing it. As a student, I would not be able to fast forward through this video until I answered the questions here on the side. But as a teacher, I may look at all of these and say, you know what? 18 questions is kind of a lot for such a short video.
A comma just isn't strong enough to hold together two.
But I kind of like the idea. Kind of like this idea. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to simply go ahead and edit it. I'm going to edit it for my own needs. And here's where the magic really happens. This is a video that's about, like I said, it's 2 minutes, 12 seconds. There's lots of questions and it might be too much, but again, I can introduce a concept to students while at the same time assessing them, which is kind of pure brilliance. So the first thing you're going to see when you edit is the ability to cut. Do you want to trim a video just to its essential parts? You can certainly do that, and it's as simple
One of the most frequently made comments
as just clicking and dragging. I can make it as short or as long as I want. I could, if I wanted to, add a voiceover. Now, here's the issue. This is a YouTube video, and because of terms of service and copyright issues, the only way that you could record a voiceover is if you have a video that you've created. So last week we talked about Screencastify. This would be a perfect example for you to take a Screencastify video that you've created for your students and to upload it. You could provide a voiceover for it if you wanted to. Its studies show that students love seeing you and hearing you in their learning. So using a voiceover in a video that you've created is a great way to get started. The third way that you can edit an Edpuzzle video is through questions. And as you'll notice here, there are 3 types of questions. Well, 2 types of questions and a way to put a note. Remember back in the day when your teacher would be showing you a video and he or she would pause the VCR to ask a question of the whole class? Well, that's kind of what this does. A note allows you to add a written comment to, clarify something for students. You can even include an audio note for for emerging readers, English language learners, audio, kids who are better audio learners than visual learners, or you can do both. So the note isn't necessarily a question, but it's a great place for you to add further explanation to a concept. So you really do have 2 types of questions here. You've got a multiple choice question, and these are graded automatically, which is super great and a time saver for you. And of course, there are also open-ended questions. So these are the ones that require a deeper level of knowledge, depth of knowledge, types of questions, critical thinking, and you get to score them all in one place as well as provide feedback. Okay, so I don't need to cut it, and I can't add a voiceover, but I'm going to add questions. But the first thing I might do is just to personalize. This is me. I just like to add my first name to videos that I save. It just helps me organize things a little bit better. So I'm going to hit Save Title. All right. So this is a video that's a video that was on YouTube, and all of these questions are here added by another teacher. I do not recommend adding a ton of questions to a video. I know we like to ask a lot of questions of students, but sometimes less is more. So here's where I might say, okay, here at the number 11, at the 11-second mark.
makers the income indices. Example. Miss Rev is the Rev pendant clauses. Here's an example.
Okay. So here we go. I'm at the 11-second mark. I've got here my list of video events. My first question appears at the 11-second mark. I've got it over here. I've got it here. I can edit it right here if I wanted to, or I can go ahead and edit it right in here. So let's see. What is a comma splice? All right. You know what? It's a good idea for me to get a sense of what the students know. So I'm going to leave this here. And I also have the incorrect choices. The incorrect choices have red X's, and the correct choices have green check. I can add as many answer choices as I want to. This will be automatically graded because it's a multiple choice question. I also have the option of turning this into an open-ended question if I want. I might say, what is a comma splice? And then students would have to define it. Let me show you something else that's interesting about asking a question. I've got these functionalities to turn, I can make something bold if I wanted to, and italicize it or underline it. I also have a superscript function and a subscript function, which is great for science and math. I can hyperlink something if I needed to. So a link to a website for students could, or a further explanation of something. I can add an image to further clarify a question. And again, if I click this is super. I wasn't a math teacher, so some of this doesn't mean a lot to me, but you can see that there are all of these equation tools for math that teachers can use. I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. What also is great here is the ability to provide feedback. So let's say, I'm going to go back to making it multiple choice. Let's say, again, these students choose the wrong, if they get the wrong answer choice, if I click feedback, I can just go ahead and say something like try again, or, a clue. Think about cutting two sentences and trying to join them with a comma. I could type all kinds of feedback if I needed to. I could also link to feedback if I wanted to. So again, something that we've used in class previously, or something to a YouTube channel, whatever. I can go ahead and provide immediate feedback for students, because again, as we know, feedback doesn't mean anything unless we can get it to students quickly. And you know what? Especially in real time. So it's very, very useful to be able to do that. So I'm going to leave this question. I think it's a good question to get a sense of where students are. So I'm going to hit save.
Here's an example.
Okay.
Here's an example. Miss Rev is the first lady of both ideas of sentences.
Okay. Now, I may not necessarily want to have this question right here. I'm just going to ask, I'm going to edit it, and I'm going to say, let's see. I'm just going to ask, is this question a comma splice? Or is this sentence a comma splice? Keep it simple. All right. Now notice, this is not a comma splice. So I've got the wrong answer choice chosen. So I'm going to make, it's as simple as hitting that as an X and turning that as a green check. So no is the correct answer. I'm going to hit save.
Unfortunately, a comma just isn't strong enough to hold together two independent clauses all by itself.
Okay. So again, this is probably, you know what, I think it's too soon. I think this question is interrupted instruction. So I'm going to delete this question.
To correct a comma splice, you have three options.
All right. I feel that this is repetitive. Or at least I'm not sure I like the way the sentence is phrased. So I'm going to go ahead and edit it again. And I'm going to ask a question. Or actually, I'm going to say, does this sentence contain a comma splice? And then I'm going to show you something really cool here. So we're going to make it multiple choice. And it does have a comma splice. All right. I'm going to hit save. And then I have, this is what I love doing. On the heels of that question, you'll see I can add another note or question here. So now, if they got it wrong, well, here's what I'm going to say now in an open-ended question with the comma splice. I'm going to go ahead and say, let's say, type this sentence without, or type this sentence correctly. Let's try that. And type this sentence correctly. I will hit save.
The comma.
So again, the student will answer, and right as soon as he or she answers, the next question is, okay, I want you to practice what you just did. So it is as simple as that. I'm going to go ahead now and take a look. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to the circle.
5 minutes by she is a beautiful dog.
Okay, let's just assume that I'm okay with all of these questions. All right. I like what I've done. I like the editing. Everything up here is saved automatically. And now I'm done. Finish. There it is. This is the Comma Splice video that I have created. Here are my questions. And then here comes the idea. Here's where you get it out to your students. I can assign it. I can edit it again. I can duplicate it if I wanted to. I can go ahead and delete it. I can also choose to make it public or private. I'm going to make it public. All right. So I've created my video. And now I want to assign it. And that's where this comes in from the top. We've already talked about content. Now let's talk about classes. I'm going to go ahead and assign it. Now I can go ahead and assign it to a class that I've already created. So I can assign it to practice and to Michael demo and teaching in the digital classroom. I can go ahead and assign them to all of my classes. Or I can add a new class. So we're just going to call this Webinar Wednesday. Now, you most likely, will, as a teacher, use the classic version. The class type that you're creating this is where your students are going to log in or sign up, and this is where you're going to get good data analytics for your students, and you'll be able to share their progress. It's perfect for that. Open classes are if you're an elementary teacher, or like we're going to try later, hopefully if time permits, I want to do an open practice where nobody has to have an Edpuzzle account. It's just a link that we put out into the universe, and you can see your students' progress for each video lesson you assign. And this is really good for elementary teachers, like I said, or for open PD, okay? But we're going to do classic right now. And all I do is create a class, all right? And you can see that it's assigned. I could, once my students are in here, since I made this, remember I said I only wanted to show Comma Splice videos to students who really were sort of consistently making mistakes with comma splices. So once I had students in here, and I'll show you that in a minute, is how to invite your students, is I could just go ahead and assign this lesson only to specific students who might need it. I could choose a due date. Let's make it due the 23rd. There we go. I always want to make sure that I toggle the prevent skipping button. This means that students can't skip ahead through the video until they answer the questions. And I always like to turn on closed captions. You do have the option here to post on Google Classroom. We're going to talk about that in a minute, how to integrate, how Edpuzzle does integrate with whatever LMS you're using, Google Classroom, Schoology, Moodle. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I just want to get the basics here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit assign. I don't have any students signed up yet, but I'm going to show you how to do that. There it is. All right, and students will have the option to go ahead and join this. All right. Now when I share, and that's how I do this. So when I share the assignment, I'm given a link which gives my students direct access. So I could copy this link and I could put it into my website. I could put it into my Google Classroom. I could put it in an email. I could embed it, like I said, right here with an embed code. I can embed it into my website if I wanted to. I'm going to copy a link here, and let's try. I don't think I'm sharing my whole, I'm only sharing my screen, not a window. But anyway, that is how you would go ahead and assign it. So let me take a break because I have seriously shared a lot and see if there are any questions. Because it's a lot. At first, you just have to get in and play with it. Okay, let me go back to our Wakelet board. Okay, thanks. All right, so we got the introduction. We've talked about how to find a video And we've talked about how to edit a video with Edpuzzle. All right, let's go back and talk about those classes just for a sec. Let me go ahead and share again. Okay. Let's take a look at my Edpuzzle account. All right, so these are the classes that I have created. I've got, my DeMichele demo. I've got a practice, which hopefully we might be able to do today, teaching the digital age and webinar Wednesday. So there are my classes. Each class is organized and has all of the content in it. So this was what I was going to assign. You can see it's got a start date, and I have 0 of 0 students who have turned it in. But that's because I haven't invited students yet. And here's the best way to do that. I go ahead and I invite the students. I share my class code with them to allow students to join my class. So I could, if I have students face-to-face, because I want to remind you, Edpuzzle doesn't just have to be used for distance learning. It can be used in a one-to-one classroom. The point of Edpuzzle is that you're trying to reach each student. So you could go ahead and project this for all students. So they would go ahead, or you can go ahead and copy the link and again, share it via email, or share it, invite your students, all types of things like that. And they would sign in just like you did, but they would sign in as a student. Now, let me show you what it looks like. I'm going to show you, because I don't have my own classroom, I am going to share with you, this is, let me put this on, this is something that I did with another school. So I was working with Crestwood Schools, I was doing some professional development, and this is my class, my Crestwood Distance Learning Academy class. And what I did is I had, in my content here in my class, I had over here, let me go to my content, a TED talk about the power of gamification for education. So in that, I shared that with my teachers in my Crestwood Distance Learning Academy. And as you can see, I'm being notified here that I have 4 new answers to go ahead and grade. This tells me right off the bat how many have turned them in. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and you get to watch me grade. This is the nice part, is that even though the due date has passed, no worries, I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead and grade. Now, these were open-ended questions. What makes school boring for kids? What suggestions do you have to combat the boredom? So these were all open-ended questions. I think I did have one multiple choice. And here's the teacher's answer. And I'm like, okay, when they board, yeah, okay. Now I have the option to go ahead and just check and give that student 100 out of 100, or I can add a grade based on a rubric I might have, or I can just go ahead and mark it wrong. I'm gonna go ahead. You can also see, and I didn't do it there, another question was, why are we afraid to fail in front of our students? We feel that they will respect us less if we are not perfect. I would go ahead and give that, but I would also want to provide feedback. I also have that option. Again, real-time feedback to students. And students love hearing from you. You don't have to answer everything, but if I wanted to say, Angela, I hadn't, whoops. Let's try that again. Angela, I hadn't thought about the concept of losing our students' respect. Thanks for the insight. I'm going to go ahead and comment. Now, Angela is going to get that immediate feedback as an email, and then she can go into Edpuzzle and check on it and see what I've left for her. I'm just going to go ahead and check these off. Okay. Now let's show you what the grade book looks like. Okay. All right. When I click on the assignment itself, I'm getting a clear view. These are all of the students. So first is going to be students who haven't watched it. And then the green will be students who do watch it. Now, again, some of it is, this will give you the grade for that student. It will give you the day they watched it and if they turned it in on time or not. The 3 dots here, let's say I have a student who is sick or I want to give students another chance. I just simply reset the progress and they start again. What's even better though is when I click on a student and I get deeper data. So here I can see that she watched about 90% of the video before turning it in. And here's what else I can see, that this chunk of video between the timestamp 1309 and 1502, that's going to tell me she watched that video chunk twice. So what I might do, oh, that's interesting. Let me go back and look at other teachers and see maybe that chunk of video was difficult for teachers. Maybe, I'll go to the next student. Maybe it was difficult for the teachers, for the students. And if I see a commonality, I can address it. So then it becomes data-informed teaching. But as you can see, I'm not so much getting that. But it's nice to be able to see how much time your students have spent on a video. Because if they're not understanding something, and maybe they didn't pause, maybe they didn't rewind, maybe they didn't rewatch a chunk of video, you're going to get an idea of, or if you see a student who maybe spent, this was a 19-minute video, maybe you're going to see a student who spent 30 minutes. That's too long. So that, again, is going to let you know that that's the student you need to watch and you need to help. Okay, let's go back. All right. Any questions about inviting students and checking their progress? I will tell you, it's one of those things that practice makes perfect. That once you get in and once you start trying it and once you play around with it, I recommend going real small first, just starting with a small multiple choice question. In fact, if anyone is interested, one of the things I do have, let me share it again. Okay, in my Edpuzzle, this is a great video I always use with, let me go to my content. I love this video. I have 2 videos that I always share with students just to practice. And whenever a teacher brings me in a classroom and allows me to help coach, I use one of these 2 videos. I use For the Birds, which is a Pixar movie, and I use One Man Band, which is another Pixar short. These are fun, they're engaging, it's Pixar, it appeals to the kids, and then we go ahead and we give it a shot here. So I just want to show you what it looks like from an editing standpoint. I've got my questions, click on the questions. And what I like about this is a multiple choice question. I worked with an English teacher on this, a 4th grade English teacher. She was the first one to introduce me to this video. And she didn't only want to just do multiple choice, because I'll tell you what, sometimes you get lucky with multiple choice. You can go ahead and guess with multiple choice, but you really don't know if a guess isn't the same as really knowing something. So we came up with the idea of doing a multiple choice question and having the students answer it. But then right on the heels of them answering a multiple choice, they had to provide evidence to explain their thinking. So why are the 2 musicians competing here? Or what are they doing? And then explain why you answered the way you did. What clues made you think that way? So this is a perfect opportunity to get inside a student brain and see what they're sort of thinking about. And so we did that for almost all of the questions, I do believe. Right now, the girl is feeling these things, and then when the students go ahead and continue, I'm going going to go to all the questions. Why is she demanding a violin? And again, explain why you answered the way you did, what clues. So it's great for inference. What clues made you think that way? I always like to include open-ended questions. I like to include a nice balance because I do want to get a sense that students, if you can get students to rationalize their answer choice, you're going to get a clear understanding that if they really knew the answer or if they just guessed. All right, so there is that. I'm just going to go ahead and finish. But it's always nice. Just pick a simple video and give it a shot and try it with your students. And in fact, again, same thing. One-man band, and let me go back. Sorry about that. One-man band in my content. And for the birds, if you just do a search in Edpuzzle, these are very common, fun videos that are already in there. So if I just go to Edpuzzle and I type in for the birds, you're going to get a lot of ideas. Now you'll notice here, this video, sometimes teachers look at stuff, but they don't do anything. So you'll notice this one doesn't have like a speech bubble icon. That means there's no questions here. But this one has 5 questions or notes. So again, this might be a good one to go ahead, edit, it becomes yours, and you can go ahead and change the questions if you need to. I will tell you, I mentioned that I was going to talk to you about, and this, it's in our Wakelet board, how to assign video lessons, how to create a class on Edpuzzle, how to assign a lesson, how to invite students, which we talked about. I'll tell you what, at this point, I would just get comfortable using them. I think integrating it with your LMS is next level stuff. So but I do have links here for Google Classroom integration, LMS integration for whatever it is, your Schoology, Canva, Moodle. I will tell you, I have had personally issues with trying to integrate Google Classroom. That's my LMS. So I don't know if it's the same for Schoology or Canva or Moodle. But I will sometimes, if I'm not constantly syncing Google Classroom with my Edpuzzle, I'm getting this problem. I'm missing some of my Google Classroom students on Edpuzzle, or they're saying, hey, I can't get in, I don't have a class code. So again, not that it's a bad thing, but it's not an introductory level thing. These integrations are next level stuff. I've put them there in case you want them there for you. We talked about the open class, which I'm hoping we still might get a chance to do. But the idea of the open class where you can just go ahead and practice it. We've talked about how student progress on Edpuzzle. And now let me just quickly show you this video about using the Edpuzzle gradebook. It's because, again, I don't have students, but I just want to give you one more clarification about why it's so good.
Edpuzzle's gradebook is a simple but powerful way to track your class's progress across multiple assignments. Let's see how. First, log into your teacher account and select Gradebook from the top menu bar. Then, choose the class whose progress you want to see from the drop-down menu. By default, you'll see the video lesson assignments from the past 30 days. If you want to change the date range, click on the Start Date box and enter the dates of your choice. If you assign video lessons with questions, you'll be able to see the grade that each student got in each video. Multiple choice questions are automatically graded. If you see 3 dots, it means an assignment still has open-ended questions pending to be graded. Once you grade them, the gradebook will automatically update. Under each grade, you'll see a thin line showing the percentage of the video that student watched. At the beginning of each student's row, you'll see the total score. This is an average of all the grades that students earned for the displayed period of time. Remember that if a video doesn't have questions, it won't be included in the total score calculation. If you're using Edpuzzle as a formative or summative assessment tool, this information is priceless. Next to the total score, you'll see the total time spent. This shows how much time each student spent watching the videos and can help you analyze how much effort your student made. If a video lesson has a due date and the student completed the video late, you'll see a red clock icon next to that grade, although it will still count as part of the total score.
If you click on a student's name, you'll get an individual report. You'll see the total score, the total time spent, and their progress for each assignment. This report is ideal for one-on-one meetings. If you want to download your grades, simply click Export Gradebook. You'll get a CSV file that you can open using Excel, Google Sheets, or even upload to your school's online gradebook. And that's it. Now you're ready to use Edpuzzle's gradebook.
Okay. So again, sorry I had to show the video, but it's because I don't necessarily have my own gradebook. And I just wanted to be clear and show you what it would look like from a teacher standpoint. And as you can see, you don't necessarily have to integrate Edpuzzle with your LMS because you can export the grades and then upload them to whatever if it's Progress Book or Clever or whatever your school is using. And I think that should be about it. Let's see here. We've got, okay, I wanted to talk about the resources very quickly. So the Edpuzzle Help Center is a huge help. And again, couldn't be simpler for teachers, for students, for parents. It's also nice, I think, that they have a parent section here that you can certainly go ahead and just copy and paste and share it with parents. And you can see it's very simple. Edpuzzle keeps it as simple as possible. So the Edpuzzle Help Center is super useful. I've also included, because here's the problem, this is going to be my little soapbox moment. My problem with multiple choice questions is that you can still guess. You don't necessarily have to know something. And in fact, I've tried this. I was a really good test taker as a kid. And I got to know all the tricks. You know, the longer answer usually was the more correct one. When in doubt, choose B. You know, I got really good at guessing. And that didn't necessarily mean that I knew what I was talking about. So one of the problems I do have with multiple choice questions is that we simply are doing them at the depth of knowledge level 1, which is all just recall. We want to, and so the reason I've included these stems is because as you all go ahead and start creating your own Edpuzzle videos and your own questions, it's easy to do multiple choice there because they're easy to grade. But I'm going to ask you please to consider the depth of knowledge 2 and 3 questions. You might not necessarily be able to do depth of knowledge 4 in an Edpuzzle video because these are things where students are synthesizing and creating. But depth of knowledge 2 and 3, you'll see from these question stems, can help you write better questions for Edpuzzle to really get a sense of what your students are thinking and what they're learning. So again, you know, what conclusion can be drawn from what you just view? Predictions. Why not, you know, instead of when you're creating an Edpuzzle video, stop before an event happens and ask the students to make a prediction. Again, the whole point is to get them engaged. So I've included this, so hopefully that'll help you write better questions for your Edpuzzle videos. Here's a great resource, tips for first-time Edpuzzle users and departments. So again, since if you might be a newbie or if this is just a refresher for you, it's not a bad idea to take a look at this, to try it just for a week. Focus on creating one block of content for each month. Introduce it slowly. Show your students. So again, use short videos, record your voice, share your excitement. That's all great stuff. So if you're looking for some first-time tips before you use Edpuzzle, I highly recommend you check out that little article. Also, you're going to want to, I included here information about how to do a live mode tutorial. Now, live mode, this actually, if you don't necessarily, you know what?
With live mode,
Instead of me talking through it, I'm just going to go ahead and share it with you so you can understand how live mode works.
you can project videos and have your students answer the questions individually on their own devices. All you have to do is choose the video, assign it to a class, and click on the blue Go Live button in the assignment view. Your students will automatically enter live mode when they log into Edpuzzle and click on your class. When your students are ready, click the Start button and away you go. You decide when time's up and when to move on to the next question. You can also click on the Show Responses button to view your students' answers. When you finish the assignment, just click Exit Live Mode. Your students' grades for your live assignment will be stored in your gradebook. If you just wanted to use the video for fun, you can click Reset Student Progress to delete the grades. So, the next time you need to supercharge your class, go live with Edpuzzle.
Okay. And you might want to go, I'm always a fan of not necessarily doing the same thing all the time. As teachers, we get a cool tool and then we get our hooks into it and we're all like, oh, this is what I need to have this. And then we kind of overdo it and sort of kill it with the kids. So doing live mode, doing open mode, just trying things in a different way. I think, using live mode would be great if you're doing a video call with students and you want to interact with them that way. And finally, I should just let you know that, okay, Edpuzzle is free to a degree. You can, as a teacher, get $0 for a month, but you're only going to be able to have storage space for 20 videos. There's also Pro Teacher and pricing for schools and districts. So your school, your district may have already purchased an Edpuzzle license as we go to remote learning. Again, if you want to purchase it I say start small. I have never paid for Edpuzzle yet because frankly, I'm one of those people that if I'm done with the video, I'm only going to keep certain things and then I'll dump the other ones. It's really not that big a deal. But if you are interested and you want to have more than 20 videos, because you might have more than classes, I always went to my admin and asked for, because I always said, guess what? If you buy the subscription for me, it's going to cut down on paper costs. You'll never see me at the copy machine. It'll pay for itself. And it did work out that way for me. Let's see what else we have. Okay. So we've been here at this for about an hour and I want you to get credit for it. So on the Wakelet board, you'll see our intro to Edpuzzle. Little form there. All you have to do is fill that out and I'll get notification and we'll send you a certificate from the Educational Service Center of Northeast Ohio for 1 credit hour, 1 seat hour. This is being recorded. I'm going to upload it here to our Wakelet board in about an hour or two. I just wanted to share with everybody. I've got links here for information about me for my instructional technology offerings for the fall. Courses, book studies, webinars. I'm offering free coaching. So all you need to do is sign up for virtual office hours, or you can go ahead and book an appointment with me, or you can go ahead and leave me something in my Flipgrid virtual help desk. So I'm here if you need me. You are not alone. And if you need anything, here's the link to my website, especially for the month of October. I've got a trick or tweet promotion going on where I'm sharing digital do-overs. I talked about doing old things in new ways. Perfect example. Last week I had a teacher said, I used to love doing 4 corners in the classroom, get kids up and out of their seats, but we're virtual, so how do I do it? So I came up with a way to do 4 corners virtually. I have all these free templates that teachers can go ahead and use. So go ahead and check out my website. All right, and that ought to do it. I think that's it. We didn't get to go ahead and we didn't have time to do the open version, but how to do it is in that Wakelet board. So again, I'm going to go ahead here and hit stop recording for us, but I want to thank everyone who was here. It was an absolute pleasure, and I am just so very grateful to have great people here who are learning. So happy learning and good luck.